Do you know what year absolutely ruled when it came to horror movies? 2005. A lot of my favorites that I've talked about came out that year. Emily Rose, Wolf Creek, Devil's Rejects, Feast, as well as a couple I haven't gotten to yet, like Land of the Dead, Saw 2, and Hostel. I liked Hostel. But if you were to ask me what I thought was the scariest movie that came out that year, I'd probably have to say The Descent. A group of friends are going spelunking, which is the technical term for dicking around in caves. Anyway, they're going through an unexplored cave in North Carolina when the passage out caves in, leaving them stranded inside. One of the girls falls and breaks her leg, and the girls scramble to get her out of the cave to get her help. But it turns out that their screams and commotion have attracted some unwanted attention. Living inside the cave are nocturnal, flesh-eating creatures that quickly attack and kill them all one by one. Eventually, only one of the women, Sarah, is able to make her way out of the cave and drive away to safety. Or does she? When I was in college, I didn't have much of a social life my first 2 years, so I'd just hold up in my dorm room and watch a ton of movies. It explains a lot. But I picked this one up from the library, and I can clearly remember exactly what it was like watching it the first time with headphones on, no distractions, and in the pitch black. This must have been terrifying to watch in theaters because all the moments in the cave are extremely well lit. The sets are dark and unsettling, but everything you need to see is crystal clear. There's nothing hidden except for what the director doesn't want you to see. And what he didn't want you to see for at least the first half of the movie is this. Full disclosure here, the first time I watched this movie, I did not know there was anything else in the caverns with them. I thought this was a regular survival movie. I mean, I didn't expect it to end well for anyone because look at the goddamn poster. Yeesh. But I thought it would just be a movie filled with infighting and deceit and trying to get out alive. Now, that happens, don't get me wrong, but it kind of takes a backseat to the whole flesh-eating monster deal. And if you came into this movie like I did, knowing the title, that it was a horror movie, and that was it, you'd be just as shocked as I was, because it takes a good 50 minutes before there are even any clues that they're not alone in the cave. The monsters in the cage are all troglofaunal, which means that they're cave dwellers that have adapted to living in pitch black. So even if you don't get anything else from this video, you learn a new word. Troglofaunal.
They're totally blind. And judging from what we've seen, I'd say they use sound to hunt with. Like a bat.
They're also insanely scary. Everything about them is amazingly designed, from the beady eyes to the oddly shaped skulls and the sharp, misaligned teeth. And I also like that they hunt by sound, not smell or sight, which means they have a lot of instances where the creatures are incredibly close, but can be tricked into avoiding the people. I also like that unlike Feast, where they used quick cuts and a shaky camera to avoid showing you what the creatures looked like, they are shown on screen a lot. You get a good look at them pretty much every time they show up. You know what they look like, how they move, and how dangerous they are. Even in the scenes where you don't see them, the sound they make, that low-pitched growl, is always surrounding the heroines in the cave, so it's hard to tell where any of it is coming from.
Come on.
The women are put at such a disadvantage, even when they're fighting just one of the monsters, having to rely on nothing but flares and night vision cameras in order to see what they're punching at. And when they do, they aren't too keen on holding back.
Jesus.
Even without the monsters, the film is tense enough and incredibly well told. You really do get to know and like the characters from the start. Like I said, you got 50 minutes of straight character building before the monsters even show up. You pretty much know immediately that Sarah's going to be the last one out. She's lost the most, having had her husband and daughter shish kebab from the start. She starts off distant from the rest of the group, wallowing in her grief, until she finds herself covered in blood fighting demons in a cave. The look in her eyes changes pretty dramatically from sorrow and panic to just full-on rage.
What happened to you?
traumatized.
It's also not helped by the fact that she discovers that not only has her friend Juno been having an affair with her now dead husband, but also that she kinda accidentally murdered Beth.
She did this to me. What? She left me.
My favorite moment in the film actually involves no monsters at all, it's just the standoff between Juno and Sarah at the end. Sarah reveals without saying anything that not only she knows that Juno left Beth to die, but also that she'd caught her in the affair. And just the tension between the two of them is so thick that you can cut it with a knife. Or a pickaxe, that works too. And there's one section that a lot of people get into a disagreement about, which is the ending. Because Sarah manages to claw her way out of the cavern, finds Juno's car, and makes it almost to the civilization. Until... ta-da! It's a dream. And she finds herself hallucinating that she's seeing her daughter in the cave as the groans of the monsters grow closer and closer. I like it. It's not a satisfying ending, but then again, it's a horror film. Sometimes you need that extra kick in the ass to get you home. And also, Sarah's mind has been playing tricks on her throughout the entire movie, even before she got into the cave. So it's only natural that in her worst moment, she would have to resort to losing her mind completely in order to cope with her inevitable end. I think it's a good ending to the film. And as we saw, it opens up opportunities for a sequel, which I will get to seeing eventually. I don't have all the time in the world. Get off my back. Sorry. And when you know it, this is another one of those movies where they changed the ending before it was released. The American theatrical version just ends with Juno's dead body staring at her before going black. The hallucination, the torchlight, the meaningful ending is gone and replaced by one single image. They restored it for the DVD version, and it is only better for it. I don't know whose decision it was to change this, but it's probably the same person who thought lots of jump scares and gallons of fake blood are what would have made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes better. I still get chills watching this movie, not just from the scares, but for the performances. It was a genuinely dark and disturbing film with a claustrophobic setting, well-lit and executed images, and a creative twist on the concept we've seen a million times of people trying to escape from an inescapable situation. Bravo did another one of those great countdown shows where they do the scariest movie moments, and this was the #1 entry. And I can see exactly why. It is without a doubt one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, from the sounds to the monsters to everything, especially that face. You know what? If all the nocturnal mole things had that face, that's the only way I could see this movie getting scarier.